On this week's show, there is a huge change coming over at Mercari. eBay continues to make changes. And for a change, I have got a massive What Sold recap. What is up, Galaxians? Welcome to episode number 271 of the Galaxy CDs Rocks and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. My name is Ryan, and I will be your host as we go through a whole bunch of reselling news. There is stuff this week going on over at Mercari. At eBay, we've got a quarterly result update over at Amazon that you won't want to miss, and a humongous What Sold recap. At the back end of the show, as always, I will leave timestamps in the show notes in the video description below. If you want to go to a particular segment of the show, you can feel free to do that. But with that having been said, let's get into this reselling news.
News updates.
You may have seen this already. It happened middle of last week. I posted about it on my Instagram at Galaxy CDs Rocks, and over on the community page of my YouTube channel as well. But Mercari announced that their U.S. CEO, John Lagerling, will be resigning at the end of this year. This article appears on Value Added Resource, and as always, these will be linked in the show notes in the video description down below. They also asked the question, will fee structure changes be reversed? So Mercari, to be fair, has been in the news quite a bit, and not necessarily for the right reasons. Over the last 6 or 8 months, they have had, they went through the big fee change back in March that we've talked about extensively on this show. They have implemented some other changes on the site. They have kind of tried to get this thing moving in the right direction, and it has come to pass that the guy at the helm of the U.S. division is now going to be stepping down. Whether he stepped voluntarily off the cliff or was pushed remains to be known, but nevertheless, either way, John Lagerling, CEO of Mercari's U.S. marketplace, will be resigning his position at the end of this year, with founder CEO Shintaro Yamada stepping in to lead both the Japan and U.S. operations effective January 1st, 2025. So a lot on his plate. This article asks, will the controversial fee changes be reversed, and could a sale of the U.S. marketplace be on the table? Mercari announced the change in management structure last week, saying the company will, quote, continue to strive toward achieving its group mission, circulate all forms of value to unleash the potential in all people. Mercari Inc. announces that Representative Executive Officer and CEO Shintaro Yamada will assume the position of Chief Executive Officer of Group Company Mercari Inc. US effective January 1st, 2025. Additionally, Yamada will continue to concurrently hold the position of Representative Executive Officer and CEO. That is referring to the broader global company, which of course is based in Japan. After founding Mercari in 2013, Yamada has led the growth of the entire Mercari group as CEO. Now, by assuming the position of a Chief Executive Officer of Mercari USA, while concurrently serving as Group CEO, he will further commit to the growth of the U.S. business. John Lagerling, the current Executive Officer, Senior Vice President of Global Strategy, Chief Executive Officer of Mercari US, will resign from his position effective December 31st, 2024. So even in their press release, they position this as a resignation. Given the results there, maybe that's the case. My gut instinct would be more likely that he was given the opportunity to resign before he was removed. I don't have any insight into that. That's just reading the tea leaves and looking at the results of the business. That would be my guess. You can let me know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or listening over on Spotify what you think of that. The company also fielded some questions from investors as part of the release of their most recent financial results, which hinted at the possibility that this leadership change could also lead to reverting fee changes made earlier this year. One of the questions was, what exactly will the change in management structure in the U.S. change? Moreover, are you considering returning to the original fee model? The answer was, starting again in January 2025, CEO Yamada will assume the additional role of U.S. CEO under this new leadership structure. While continuing our current initiatives, we will consider new strategies toward breaking even and getting back on track for growth this fiscal year. Regarding returning to the original fee model and other such changes at present, we have not seen the effects that we had expected. Therefore, we will be flexibly considering options such as revising the fee model as part of our strategy in the U.S. going forward. So they're really in a pickle, in my opinion, on this thing. So obviously, Poshmark made an attempt to make a fee change and very quickly realized that it was not going to work out. And in less than 3 weeks' time, reversed course on that. Mercari has stuck with this now for 8 months. And obviously, as you're heading into Q4, the bulk of the business of Q4, we're almost to Thanksgiving at this point. What do you do if you're Mercari? Because you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. If you reverse those fees now, you are going to alienate all of the sellers that you've attracted over the last 8 months with the promise of no fees in the busiest selling time of the year, costing them money. You're also going to negatively impact all those sellers who reduced prices on tens, hundreds, thousands of items to account for that fee change. So if if they make a change, it's going to be very negatively impactful to their sellers. The flip side is you're heading into the busiest time of the year and your sales have already been abysmal for the most part over the last 8 months. If you don't make that change now to capitalize on this busiest time of the year and miss that opportunity to capture those customers because they're abandoning their carts and they're leaving the site and they're not making purchases because of those fees, you've cost yourself business. So either way, they are really in a jam here. There are obviously myriad opportunities that they could pursue for this fee thing. They could try the erstwhile Poshmark model and split those fees between buyers and sellers. That was a non-starter for Poshmark, but could Mercari give it a shot? Maybe. Could they do the Depop model and do bank credit card transaction fees to the seller and some kind of service fee to the buyer? Yeah, maybe they could try that. Maybe they could move all of the fees back to the seller, but do kind of like what Poshmark does, a set flat fee based on the selling price of the item, not including shipping and taxes, and no transaction fee. Should that fee be 10%? Should it be 5%? Should it be 20%? None of those really sound like great options when you have premised your whole business over the last 8 months on the fact that there are no fees. So they are, again, let me know in the comments what you think. I'm not sure what the right answer is here. I would absolutely be open to suggestions. I'm sure Mercari is looking at all of this too and probably sweating bullets about having to do this. And the key thing really is whatever they do, they need to get it right and they need to commit to it because they can't make then another change. They have got, and that's where reverting back to the original model probably makes the most sense. It's the easiest, it's the cleanest, it's going to be messy. There's going to be a lot of backlash from sellers for a variety of reasons, but that is probably the one that has the least amount of peril of getting it incorrect, because any of these other experimental models that they try, if they don't work, what do they do then? And I said at the time when these changes rolled out that they needed to be able to stick with them, that they had better be determined that that was going to be their answer, because going back on this was going to be a real problem. And as more time has passed, that has become more and more of an issue. Another question that was asked was, have the effects of the restructuring of the organization started to appear? If top-line growth has not started to manifest, how do you intend to meet the goal of breaking even? A portion of the expenses related to restructuring the organization have also been recorded in results for Q1, but at this point, the effects have generally been reflected. So what they're saying is that probably any severance package and so on that is being given to Lagerling is already being accounted for in their results. So there won't be any more damage necessarily to their financials coming from this restructuring. However, they continued, the current slump in the top line and other losses are greater than what we had expected at the beginning of the fiscal year. And if gross merchandise volume continues on the current trend, it will be increasingly difficult to achieve our goal of breaking even. And this is This is interesting. This is the next bit. You're going to want to pay attention to this. We would like to aim to break even through gross merchandise volume growth, but we will explore various options to achieve our goal regardless of this situation. I don't know how long it's going to be until I get to this next portion of this, but we're going to take another look at some of the things going on over at eBay. And we talked about last week with their earnings call. eBay is increasingly making more and more of their GMV growth through fees, ad fees, promoted listings fees, offsite fees, through other things beyond selling items. And this appears to be a shot across the bow of that kind of philosophy. They're going to explore various options to achieve our goal beyond just raw gross merchandise volume growth. So Lagerling's approach, of course, was to try to attract more sellers to put more merchandise on the site, which in theory would have attracted more buyers. And it may have at some point attracted more eyeballs to the site. And I think it did achieve the effect of getting more sellers, but it ultimately has not resulted in more purchases because of the adverse reaction to the fees. So now what do you do to get gross merchandise volume to grow? If you change the fees, if you flip them back, many sellers who were enticed by, again, fee-free selling are likely to leave because it's no longer free. Why bother? Which reduces the amount of merchandise on your site and the amount of sellers, of course. So now you have a reduction in buyers because you've got less stuff to offer. It is again, as I mentioned a moment ago, it is potentially a vicious downward spiral that I wish them all the luck in the world trying to break out of. The writing has been on the wall for months as the already previously struggling U.S. operations continue to experience that backlash and abandoned cart problems. So they haven't cracked that nut yet. Some people have suggested that Mercari may even eventually look to close or sell off the business if performance does not improve, citing the company's withdrawal from the UK market back in 2018 as a precedent. While Yamada did not go that far, he did tell investors in September that there could be at least the possibility that entering into a partnership with another company could be one avenue that they may explore. So, messy times over at Mercari. I don't envy those folks. They are really going through it. Again, I said at the time this fee change was made, you wonder what the decision-making process looked like. What did they thought they knew about buyer behavior, about seller behavior that led them down this path, which has obviously not worked out. So good luck to John Lagerling in whatever his future endeavors are. Good luck to Mr. Yamada in taking on this additional role. And good luck to Mercari, because again, I would like for the site, whether it's 10% fees or 5% fees or whatever, I'd like for the site to grow. I'd like for it to be a success for my business and for yours. It's nice to have additional options that are productive. Right now, Mercari is not being very productive for many of us. Speaking of, they also discontinued a feature last week, which seems like an odd thing to do when you're already having problems. They discontinued the Smart Offer feature, but they did apparently make a change, though people are not completely convinced if it is a glitch or if it is an actual change in promotions, sending out offers. So it's a really strange thing. Mercari has reportedly discontinued the Smart Offer feature, which allowed users to automate certain selling functions, adding manual effort to seller workflows with little or no notice or time to adjust. The Smart Offer feature essentially was buyers are free to make an offer on your item or on a bundle of your items. In response, you can accept, decline, or make a counteroffer. If you don't want to negotiate the price of the offer, or rather the item, we suggest indicating in the item description that your price is firm. When you set up your listing or when you edit an existing listing, you can enable what they called smart offers. It saves you time by allowing you to set a minimum price for your listing, and it automatically provides a one-time counteroffer for you within your acceptable price range. When an offer comes in, if it's not within that price range that you set, it will be, if it is within the price range that you set, it will be accepted. If it is not in that range, a one-time counteroffer will be sent automatically. Brilliant. Easy peasy, automated. You can set it up much like the eBay offer program where you can set a minimum acceptable offer or a unacceptable offer and roll with it. That feature, I think it was on Wednesday. It just went away. I was doing some listings And literally, I did one listing and Smart Offer was there. And 5 minutes later, I did a second one and that feature was gone. Sellers on Reddit commented that they received emails very abruptly advising that it had been discontinued effective November 4th and that all listings which previously used the feature will now need to be managed manually. I did not receive that email. Let me know in the comments. Did you receive a notification from Mercari about this change? I didn't receive an email. I didn't receive a notice in my Mercari messages. I got nothing. I just happened to see that this thing had been changed. So the email read, starting Monday, November 4th, we will be discontinuing the Smart Offers feature on Mercari. That means any listings currently using this feature will automatically have it disabled. Going forward, we ask that you manage and accept offers manually. Why? Why? And again, going into fourth quarter, where sellers are going to be the busiest they are at any point during the year, why would you switch from an automated system that can be set up at the time of listing to a manual system? I suppose, in theory, maybe it's to create an environment where there's more negotiation, where sellers cannot just automatically decline offers, which in theory, if you have more negotiation, maybe the site makes more sales. I don't know, but it just seems like a very strange thing to turn off. Meanwhile, other sellers have been noticing an unannounced change to how promotions work, with the previously enforced 10 per day limit seemingly being removed, but no one knows if it's an intentional move to goose sales on the platform or a glitch. Again, we've talked about their offer program, their promotion program before, where a lot of sellers don't like that the price has to be a certain amount below your previous lower price to send additional offers. So this is, again, a feature that is good and useful, but is probably not set up with the best interest of sellers at heart. Sellers on Reddit said over the last few days they've suddenly been able to promote a seemingly unlimited number of listings per day. So that's a change. It's strange. I just don't know what's going on over there. Let me know what you think of any of that. Moving on to eBay. eBay continues to make a bunch of changes that, as we've talked about over the last week, some of them make sense, some of them don't. Many of them are not working the way they're supposed to. Most of these that we're going to cover today are kind of on the reporting side of things. We've talked about eBay Halo sales attribution in the past. So eBay is changing the way it reports Halo sales in its advertising report as of November 6th. They are quick to point out that there are no new fees, only changes in how eBay reports sales resulting from sellers' ads. Until last year, this article is over on E-commerce Bytes, eBay had only charged seller ad fees when a buyer clicked on an ad and bought the item within 30 days, which was a direct sale. But beginning in March of 2023, eBay also began charging sellers if the buyer clicked on an ad and purchased any promoted listing within 30 days, which they then called Halo sales. So again, I click on item A and I don't buy it, but 29 days later, I'm on that seller's page and I buy item B, which they are also promoting, even if I did not click that item through a sponsored promoted listings, because within 30 days, I had clicked on another promoted listing item. eBay collects the promoted fee. A lot of people have real issues with this from an ethical standpoint, which I absolutely understand. But it goes back to what I talked about just a few moments ago with Mercari, finding a way to make money without having to do anything extra. This is one click on one item, and the cookie is then valid on any item also promoted within 30 days. I'm not a fan, to say the least, but it's a way for eBay to collect, obviously, more funds. Again, they were quick to point out that the only thing changing today is the way that eBay reports these Halo sales. Quote, the update only affects how your sales are reported and won't result in any additional fees on the sale of your listing. You'll continue to only pay for the clicks on your priority strategy and promoted offsite campaigns, and you won't be charged for any clicks on non-promoted items, even if their sale was attributed to a promoted click. So again, to be clear, I click today on item A that is promoted, and I come back 29 days from now, and I click item B, which is not being promoted. There will be no Halo fee. But if that second item is being promoted, eBay will collect the fee. Clear as mud, right? eBay said that the fee for a Halo item sale would be calculated based on the ad rate in effect for the purchased item at the time of the sale. So again, if the item that you originally were promoting, let's say you had promoted at 2%, and the new item, even though they didn't click a promoted listing, is being promoted at 5%, you're paying 5. So they get credit for the lower click, but they also get credit for the higher rate. Sweet deal for eBay. Ah, goodness gracious. If you want more information on this, there is a link in this article to the eBay advertising blog post that announced it. This is an interesting one. This is going on over in Germany, and Germany tends to be, it feels like where eBay does a lot of experiments. So this is, they're kind of way out in front on a lot of things. And they have introduced a new program in Germany allowing buyers to pay a monthly invoice for all of their purchases. eBay giving buyers in Germany the option of paying for all of their purchase in a given month on a single invoice. On the first calendar day of the month, the buyers will receive an invoice for all purchases that can be paid within 14 days. There are no additional fees if the buyer pays on time, and eBay uses a company called Reverti to power the embedded payment option. The director of eBay Germany was quoted in the press release saying, with the monthly invoice, we are offering our customers another way to tailor their online shopping experience to their wishes. We know that our buyers want an easy and fast solution for combining payments for multiple purchases. This is exactly what we are now making possible with the monthly invoice from Reverti. eBay did not specify whether there would be any delay to seller disbursements for such transactions. eBay is rolling out the new payment option now, and it will make it generally available in Germany by early next year. So for sellers, that's the key thing. Do you get paid when the item shipped, like immediately? Or do you only get paid for these sales on a monthly basis when the customer pays their invoice? For me, I would have a problem with that. I didn't sign up for customers to only be able to pay 30 odd days away from the time they made their purchase. So I don't know how eBay is going to handle this. I would definitely want to see some more details on it. It is a very, very interesting program. Could attract additional buyers to the site. It's going to be interesting to see how it works. If you are a seller in Germany that's listening to this, let me know in the comments. What do you think of this? And have you heard any further details about how you're going to get paid for these items? eBay's rolling out what appears to be another test on the banner, putting in a carousel for your store featuring about info and store videos. This is one I don't know really how I feel about one way or the other. eBay is tinkering with store designs again, adding a rotating carousel featuring the seller's banner image, which you've always had the ability to do, about information, which used to be somewhere else, but that was linked on your store banner, and store videos if you have them. Previously, your store page just displayed a single static banner with an image at the top, and potential buyers, if they wanted to read your about information, they could go do that. There was a link to go see your video if you had one. But now these are rolling across the screen, and I'm going to show you what mine looks like here in a minute. Some buyers are seeing an automatically rotating carousel that starts with the banner image, then shows the video, if there is one, and then another slide with some text from the about section. It's not all of it, because it's limited to what seems to be a random number of characters. Again, it is either a test or a phased rollout, because not everyone is seeing the carousel at this time, reporting they only see it in some browsers and not others, or when viewing in an incognito window. So it's hard to say what this actually is, but some sellers are seeing it. They're discussing the new feature in the eBay community, with some saying it could be useful, but it should be optional, not forced, and the eBay should have proactively communicated about it so sellers could check to make sure their information displays in the way they prefer. Again, as I talk about, I feel like every week, eBay's propensity to make changes without announcements, again, it's their site. We just live there, but they can do whatever they want. But them, again, not being transparent with these changes and giving people an opportunity to know it's coming, or in this case, even an option to opt in or out of it. It's not good business practice to treat your sellers that way, in my opinion. As should be glaringly obvious to eBay after almost 3 decades, unannounced changes being made in the Q4 holiday season are not the way to win sellers' heart. It says, I recently looked, said one writer, at some eBay storefronts, including my own, and I created a store billboard ages ago, have a short video and an about description. Now imagine my surprise and confusion when, with no announcement and no explanation within the store help pages or the edit store page, my previously static billboard now scrolls showing my actual billboard image, then a clickable link to pop up if my store video, and then a partial text of my about description. Now, I actually like the scrolling billboard idea they went on, but seriously, once again, despite our never-ending pleas, no announcement, and in the middle of Q4. To be fair, I agree with that from the standpoint of the no announcement piece, and again, making a change in Q4. I don't like it. I don't know that this is a major problem for sellers. It doesn't impact our workflow really necessarily. So I'm not really all that pressed about this one. But again, the lack of transparency, as one person said, appears to be no seller choice. I see nothing that indicates I can choose a static billboard or a scrolling billboard, which would be a nice option. eBay, if you're listening, give us the option for some sellers that may want to opt in or out. Why no choice? The video that this person made was set up as a slideshow, and the slideshow photos had their dimensions altered to fit the pop-up video size. So tops and bottoms of some of the items are cut off in the pop-up video, which is not the look I want. To be fair, here again, you're never, ever probably going to be able to get that right because you don't have the ability probably to set the scaling. Because if I'm on an ultra wide monitor or a small, like my teleprompter is a different dimension monitor. So on different sizes of screens, all of this stuff appears at different sizes. So whatever you set based on the monitor you have in front of you may look different on my monitor and will probably look different on the other guy's monitor. I don't know that there's a good answer unless eBay's technical gurus come up with some way to accurately scroll or scale the size of your photos and to crop them appropriately to fit on every different display type, size, and resolution. And that, to me, is a really big ask. Given the amount of stuff just basic stuff they don't seem to be able to get right. Obviously, there's also a character limit in the text for the final video, and since as sellers we have no warning about this, it cuts off the text abruptly. If eBay indicated the character number, we could probably revise the about text to fit better. So what's going on? Is it a test, a change, or a gradual rollout? Again, first world problems. Here is what it looks like. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see here is my banner. And for some reason, it's not scrolling now. It just scrolled in there, but now it won't move. But you can manually make it move as well. So that's essentially what it looks like. I don't have a video. And you can see even here in this example, it doesn't always work correctly because when I set this up, there it goes. eBay, goodness gracious. Anyway, that's what it looks like. You can see how it cuts off. One seller wrote in that they had tried various different lengths of text in their about to try to get it to fit appropriately in this banner and never were able to do so. So there you go. That's going on over at your stores. More changes in eBay traffic reporting. Some of this, to me, having read through this a little bit, is a bit of a misunderstanding of what the report is actually supposed to be showing. This article, again, over on Value Added Resource, is updated as of November 8th. No official answers from eBay yet, but a seller in the eBay community did some testing and has come to the conclusion that promoted listings general external ad clicks are included in the promoted listings stat in the new traffic page, which this article says contradicts eBay's own definition of that stat, only including on eBay views. But that, to me, I think that is actually in error, and we'll get into that here in a little bit as to why. The writer said, I did a small test this morning. I don't use offsite ads, and all of my listings are in promoted listings general campaigns. Using incognito with Chrome, I found several of my ornaments displaying sponsored when I searched Google. I screenshot my views data report for today before clicking on any of those Google results. Then I clicked on 5 of my ornaments ads to open the listings on eBay from that Google array. When I went back to my traffic data for today, the promoted listings view count increased by 5 while the external views remained at 0. So at least with this small test, It looks like views from sponsored listings on Google report for promoted listing views on the traffic page. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this person's show here on the screen where they show promoted listings having 2 views. And then after their experiment, it bumps to 7. But you will note, if you can, it may be hard to read, but on the promoted listings line, it said views on eBay and the eBay network. Now, looking at this, you can see, again, it's promoted listings went from, what was it, 2? Yeah, went from 2 to 7, which is correct. The person was on Google, clicked 5 times, and now their promoted listings thing went up. And they're saying, and if you look, the promoted offsite line on this report still shows 0. The reason for this is because promoted offsite is a separate paid program within eBay. It is different than promoted listings, either advanced, well, I guess it's priority, or general. Now, it is a different program that you pay an additional fee for things to be promoted offsite, off of eBay. The promoted listings one includes eBay and sites in the eBay network, which does include Google, among others, where they will place your promoted ad to be seen and to be clicked. But that's not going to show up on this promoted off-site line because it is not actually part of that program. Now, to be fair, to get 100% accuracy, it would be nice if eBay showed this promoted listing and then had a breakdown of how many of those views were on eBay proper and how many of them were actually off-site, or even further break it down, how many were on Google, how many were on Bing, or whoever else they use as part of their network, rather than lumping them all together. Not that you'd be able to target it in any way, but it would just be more transparency and more useful information. But I think a lot of the concern with this is maybe just a misreading of what this report is actually showing, because again, promoted offsite is an actual separate program from standard promoted listings. So hopefully that helps clear a little bit of that up. Again, it's still one of those things that just show us all the information. You have all the data. Why are you hiding some of it from us? It seems so pointless. eBay's traffic analytics and reporting changes have made it to the desktop, continuing the trend of technical misexecution and lack of transparency. Like I was just saying, sellers began noticing these changes in Seller Hub, saying the new experience lacks critical information and granularity that the previous reports provided. It also appears that to those sellers who reported new analytics reports in the mobile app were showing blank or incorrect data, and are now seeing the same incorrect or blank data in the new desktop experience as well. So here on the other side of the issue, not only is the report maybe difficult to read and not showing all the information that it should, sometimes it's not even showing correct information. And more importantly, that information is different sometimes from the mobile app to the desktop, which makes it further difficult to understand what is going on. The number one complaint seems to be, instead of being able to see charts and statistics for impressions, views, and sales in a stacked bar, which is the way the old one looked, you now have to click on separate tabs for each statistic, making it much more difficult to see how the performance of all those statistics moves together over time. So again, as I've talked about over the last several weeks, you have a case where you're seeing less information in kind of the summary page. And as you continue to want to learn more stuff or do more stuff on eBay, every change they've made over the last 6 months has resulted in the user having to make more clicks in order to find the information they want. Once you've come up with a workflow and you understand where that stuff is, it's still extra clicks, but at least it's not clicking all over the place to try to find the data you want. Once you've learned where it's at, it's a little quicker. Why not just show it to us all in one? It used to be that if you hovered your mouse over a particular column on that bar graph, it would pop up a little window that showed you all the various stats that you could ever want to know. Now, all that stuff is multiple clicks away. Again, things clearly not being designed by or in consultation with us as users. We just talked about this a little bit. The eBay mobile app traffic analytic program launched, but it doesn't work very well. Mine was blank. As of the other day, the technical misexecution has now spread to the mobile desktop experience with a new design for traffic reports in Seller Hub, also showing blank or wildly inaccurate data. The community staff at eBay, to be fair, did acknowledge the issue, saying they are working on a resolution. They announced this new traffic and performance insight for sellers are now available on the mobile app, but in classic fashion, the article says the new features appear to be not ready for prime time and may be the cause of technical glitches with other reporting last week. The promotion from eBay said performance highlights are now live on the eBay mobile app for iOS and Android as of October 14th. The update is designed to help you understand and improve your business performance directly from your phone. Again, this was announced on the 14th. I didn't actually see it on my mobile app until last week, and mine was all blank data. So not only did I get it late, I got it wrong. Perfect. Outstanding. What you can do with Performance Insights, it says you can view real-time traffic graphs, track listing views and impressions, monitor click-through rates, break down traffic sources. You can now monitor the performance of your listings on the go. Performance Insights provide you the critical data you need to make informed decisions directly from your phone wherever you are. That's only true to the extent, of course, that it works and that it's accurate. This new Performance Insights feature is designed to help you whether you're managing high volume listings or tracking specific items. With the tool, you can understand traffic patterns and performance metrics, supporting you in optimizing your listings and enhancing your business performance. Start using it today to enhance your efficiency. To access the insights, open your eBay app, click the Selling tab, scroll down to the Jump to Performance button with the graphs icon. Again, this article points out as well, all sounds great in theory, but one value-added resource reader says the feature is clearly not ready for prime time, showing no information or clearly incorrect data in the app compared to the same reports on the desktop. Let me know if you've tried to use this and what you think of it. One of the issues that I have is beyond the fact that some of these things either don't work or provide incorrect data is, as we've talked about, that the experience still varies between the mobile app, the desktop version, and the mobile web version. All three of those seem to have differing functionality. So there's no consistent integrated experience. The way things work in one app or on the website is not the way they work or operate in another. And again, it just adds time and unnecessary confusion to sellers trying to do their job. Here's a good one. This could be helpful. We'll have to wait and see, but eBay has made great efforts to unlock the China market, and now they have added Alipay as a payment method in China. They are partnering with Alipay to offer buyers in China more ways to shop and pay on the site, unlocking cross-border trade opportunities. Whoops, sorry, wrong button. With Alipay's over 1 billion strong user base. What you need to know, reaching new customers in China, simplifying the checkout experience is a powerful way to enhance your buyer's journey on eBay. That's why we're excited to announce eBay's partnership with Ant International's Antom to bring Alipay, one of China's most trusted and widely used payment methods, to our platform. Starting in November, Chinese buyers will have the option to check out with Alipay, enjoying a seamless, convenient, and familiar payment experience. This integration unlocks new opportunities for you as it provides access to one of the world's largest online consumer markets, boosting conversions and helping drive more sales. With over 1 billion users, Alipay gives you an unprecedented opportunity to tap into an enormous and highly active pool of Chinese shoppers. All of this assumes, of course, that you have not disabled China as an account that you ship to either directly or through eBay's international shipping program. So you might want to take a look at that as well. Integrating Alipay means you can meet the demand of Chinese buyers looking for exclusive products in categories like collectibles, luxury goods, fashion, and electronics. Once a buyer selects Alipay at checkout, they can complete the transaction in just a few steps. It works like any other payment account, essentially. They sign into their eBay account, choose Alipay as the payment method, and authorize the payment. This streamlined process opens up opportunities for more convenient international transactions, helping you reach more buyers and increase sales. With this addition, eBay is committed to helping sellers succeed in international markets, making it easier to connect with millions of Chinese shoppers ready to discover unique products from across the globe. You do not need to do anything or take any action to set this up to receive these payments, they will be processed and settled through the normal managed payment process, just like any other payment method available to buyers. Credit where it's due. That's a win for sellers. I guess let me caveat that, assuming that it works the way it's supposed to. Frequently asked questions. Do I need to set up an Alipay account? No. eBay sellers do not need to have an account. This is handled by Managed Payments. You don't have to do anything. You'll continue to receive your payments through your preferred payment method. If you have an Alipay account, can you link it to your eBay account to receive payouts? This, of course, would only affect people really in China. And the answer is no. You currently cannot use an Alipay account to receive your funds. Note the word currently. So maybe in the future, that would be something that comes. Is Alipay available in all countries? No, it's only available to buyers located in mainland China and using US dollars as the listing currency on eBay. Is it available as the default payment method for offers and auctions? And the answer is yes. eBay appears to be kicking off the partnership with a coupon to try to entice buyers in China to make a purchase, but confusingly, the offer was also shown to some US-based users, with one seller reporting they saw the pop-up when looking at their own item on the eBay app, raising concerns once again about possible technical issues or that the pop-up may chase US buyers away by making them think they're being hacked by someone in China. So again, not without some issues, but this long-term should be a big win for eBay sellers. Okay, back to the bad news on eBay. This is again another unannounced thing. eBay boosts promoted listings dynamic ad rate minimum to 5% with no notice as Q4 revenue pressure mounts. We got to be fair. We gave them some applause. We gave them their flowers when they did something right. This one is really problematic for me. They are ratcheting up promoted listings dynamic ad rate minimum requirements during the Prime holiday shopping season as Q4 revenue pressure mounts. The change, which was initially spotted by YouTuber and eBay seller eBay Life, I think that's someone else. I think that's typed in there wrong. But in any event, they were investigating poor promoted listings ad performance, and he noticed that eBay had changed the minimum threshold to 5% from the previous 2% requirement. You may remember months and months ago, it changed from 1% to 2%. Now, for dynamic ad campaigns, it's up to 5%. He said he believed the change may be specific to the UK as a way to recoup some of the fees lost since they expanded fee-free selling to the private sellers in most categories. However, in testing on the US side, they're seeing the same thing. It's important to note, though, that it appears to, at least at the time of writing, impact only the dynamic ad rate option for promoted listings general. So if you are using a fixed rate of 2%, you're golden. You're fine. But if you're trying to use the promoted, or rather the dynamic one, where it can vary, you have to have a minimum of 5%. eBay introduced the dynamic ad rate back in 2023, allowing sellers the option to have their promoted listings ad rates automatically updated to eBay's daily suggested rates, with additional options to either set an ad rate cap, which the ads won't go above, which is how I do mine. As I've said previously on this show, I'm running the dynamic campaign with a rate cap of 7%. So in theory, I should have ads that pop for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6%, but almost all of them are at the max, which, to be fair, usually the eBay suggested rate on any given day is significantly higher than 7%. So it is what it is. Or you could run what they called an ad rate modifier, which is an amount that the rate is allowed to go above even the suggested rate. So if you use that, if the daily suggested rate is 10 and you say you put an ad rate modifier on it of 2, you might pay 12% promoted. But using this dynamic ad rate strategy is completely optional. You don't have to do it. You can set the fixed rate instead, and that appears to be, again, where this change occurred. In testing, the person who did the video and Liz over at Value Added Resource found that the fixed rate promoted listings general campaigns are still showing up with a rate of 2%. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see here's a sample of the screen. She tried to put in a rate of 1% and got a warning that said set an ad rate between 2 and 100%. Let me say that again. 100%. That's breathtaking. Why? Why would you? Who would do that? Let me know in the comments. That's just ridiculous. Oh, goodness. But the dynamic ad rate now shows a minimum of 5%. So here's the same thing. She tried to put in 3%. It says consider an ad rate above 8%, but you can see in yellow the little warning, set an ad rate between 5 and, again, 100%. And here we go. Again, it's not entirely clear when this change went into effect since eBay has not made any public announcement about this change. It is also not clear what impact it may be having on existing active campaigns that have the ad rate cap set below 5%. Liz expects that the answer is that those ads simply just may not be being delivered. Again, because you didn't get any notice, there's no way to know. You can try to search, I guess, for some of your own stuff that you know that you're running promoted at less than 5% and see if you can find your own ad. Ain't nobody got time for that right now. It's Q4. Once again, a change that it requires you to do a whole bunch of extra work to determine what's going on at a time where you should only be focusing on listing, packing, shipping, and selling. It may seem counterproductive, she adds, to stop delivery of some ads rather than warn sellers to edit their campaigns. But remember, eBay does not particularly care which seller makes a sale, and knocking dynamic ads that were not willing to pay at least 5% down in the ranking tips the scales to those listings that are, making it more likely that those listings will sell and eBay will collect a higher ad fee than they otherwise might. Her point being, if they have raised that figure to 5% and have just stopped showing items at 4.9% and below, the only promoted listings that are being seen are ones at 5 and above, which greatly reduces the number of ads. Well, it eliminates all of those cheaper ones from being seen. So eBay is only going to collect on items that are promoting at 5% or more, while not giving the people in those lower percentage categories an opportunity to update their rate to be competitive. Really unfair, in my opinion. It also means that while technically the minimum for fixed rate is still 2%, in practice, if they're competing against dynamic rate ads that have been forced into the higher rate, those ads will likely experience a loss in performance as well, because the bar is now higher, making 5% essentially the de facto minimum just to maintain visibility anyway, even if it isn't strictly required. So again, your ad may technically be able to be shown, but in that competitive landscape, essentially what you're doing with these rates is you're bidding on a promotion. You're bidding on being shown. You're bidding on being promoted. And if your bid is a fixed 2%, which is strictly allowed, and mine is a dynamic 5% or more, who is eBay going to show? They're going to show mine, or they're going to show the higher one. So even if you've got a lower set rate, your ad is probably not going to show, which is obviously no bueno for you. So this, again, no communication, no opportunity to fix it, and a massive, massive increase. When it went from 1 to 2%, I know a lot of sellers were really nonplussed about that. This now goes from 2 to 5. That is a massive, massive jump. Obviously, it should generate a ton of additional gross merchandise volume, because that's where eBay counts this ad revenue as we go through fourth quarter. Again, it's their business. I guess they can do what they want, but I would expect sellers to be very, very disappointed in this. Here's another one that should be a good one. eBay has finally added combined shipping requests to the mobile app experience. And what should be very good news for sellers, they finally added one of the most requested features for the mobile app experience, the ability for buyers to request combined shipping when they add multiple items to their cart. Again, eBay did not include this major development in the fall seller update, nor have they made a standalone announcement about it, leaving sellers to just trip over the new feature while trying to help their buyers instead. A seller took to the eBay community to ask fellow members if the request total button had recently been removed because they had been unable to find it. So it used to be that if you were on the mobile app, there was a button where you could request a total and you would be sent an invoice. That apparently disappeared and was replaced with texts that says request combined shipping. The writer said, I've had 2 instances this week where customers were trying to purchase multiple items from my store, but the shipping was high. I told them to use the request total from seller button and I would send them an invoice for combined shipping. I realized they said you can also do this after the fact, but I hate doing the whole refund thing. Fair enough. Both customers didn't see a button. I know they're fooling with the site, so just checking to see if they removed it. Several sellers were quick to chime in that the often repeated answer was, unfortunately, it only works on the desktop experience, not in the app, but then were pleasantly surprised to discover that that is no longer the case. Checked using the eBay app, and I did see a request combined shipping option displayed in the app, which may be new. In the past, I think that option did not appear. I didn't see it when using the mobile browser in mobile mode or classic mode, however. Again, another example of over time, you had the desktop experience, which had a particular button, the mobile app experience, which didn't, which now does, but the mobile browser mode or mobile classic mode still doesn't. So different experiences depending on how you, as a user, are trying to use the site. Again, for my money, having these programs and these options be consistent across experiences should be a top priority. I suppose they probably have the stats that say there's only X number of people percentage-wise that are using the mobile browser. The bigger percentage is on the app. So let's not worry about this thing. I get it, but it makes for an inconsistent experience, and it makes it very difficult for people who are just naturally trying to help each other out. Like in this case, someone asked the question and sellers were chiming in with information that turns out to be inaccurate now because a change was made in one experience, but not others. And again, it wasn't communicated. I'm on one again this week, folks. What can I tell you? Another longtime community member confirmed they're now also seeing it in iOS and provided a screenshot as well as feedback to the design team about this change. I'm confirming seeing the same on the iOS. You'd think eBay would have put this in the seller update. Why aren't they shouting it from the rooftops? Sellers and buyers have both been asking eBay to add a request total link in the app shopping cart for years. I didn't think it would ever happen. Can you tell us if that same wording, which appears on this, is want to save on shipping with this seller, ask the seller to ship the items together, appears for all sellers? Specifically, if the seller has automatically combined shipping rules set up, that language would be misleading buyers to think they can get an additional discount on shipping. The link is good, but the text we can do without, they said. And that is, I did a video, I don't know how long ago it was, about how to set up combined shipping options so that eBay will automatically calculate in the shopping cart, this item weighed 5 ounces, this item weighed 8 ounces, this item weighed 6 ounces. The total is whatever that math ends up being, 1 pound, 4 ounces. That's the new shipping rate. It's not adding the actual $5, $5, $5. It's combining all that together to give a whatever, $6.50, just pulling numbers out of the air. That's how mine are all set up. I've got a combined automatic shipping rule. So when you add all those items to your cart, you already get that. Are those people seeing a message to request combined shipping when it's already being calculated? I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say, yes, they are. Because I had somebody reach out today and asked if I did combined shipping. So there you go. It should be a good program once the kinks are worked out of it. I like it. It would be very helpful. But it's not quite ready. Last thing, finally, in the news, Amazon grew their North American sales 9% in Q3. Third quarter 2024, year-over-year sales $95.5 billion. It additionally grew international sales by 12% to $35.9 billion. Worldwide paid units grew 12% in the quarter, and third-party sellers still accounted for 60% of worldwide paid units in the quarter, excluding the impact of Whole Foods Market. Amazon also runs the AWS technology service, which has been an ever-increasing part of their sales, and those sales actually increased 19% year over year to $27.5 billion. Total Amazon net sales increased 11% to $158.9 billion. So while we talked last week about how eBay had, let's call it incremental growth, and Etsy was actually showing kind of negative growth, Amazon continues to just blow the doors off the thing. So, congratulations to Amazon on a fantastic fourth quarter. Speaking of selling stuff, after 55 minutes, let's get into some stuff that I sold here at the Galaxy. This is going to be a pretty big one. If you follow me over on Instagram at Galaxy CDs Rocks, I posted on Saturday my normal weekly recap, and I only had like 80 some items, 80 some listings that sold throughout the course of the week. 20 of them were on Whatnot. A couple over, I think it was 8 or 9 on Mercari, or on Etsy rather. Nothing on Mercari at all last week, but only 50 some on eBay, which was a really pretty slow week in terms of transaction volume. But my average selling price on eBay was very, very good. I sold a bunch of high value stuff. We're going to cover some of that here. I think I've got 18 things to go over today. So let's get right into this. This first one is the Catholic Marriage Manual by Reverend George A. Kelly, 1958, fourth printing hardcover, cloth cover. Had it listed for $24.99, received an offer of $20 for this, which I went ahead and accepted. Buyer paid $5.38 in shipping. I paid $4.04 in fees. My cost of goods sold on this was just 38 cents. It was part of a big, big lot of books I bought about 2.5 months ago. So my total costs were $11.50, and my net profit on the Catholic Marriage Manual from the 1950s was $15.58. Next up, an old VHS video, Project 3751, The Restoration, Chapman and Dayberry VHS video from 1992, featuring the restoration of an old steam engine. This was part of a big lot of railroad memorabilia, books, and videos that I picked up back in the late winter. This would have been maybe February. So I've had this for a little while. I only paid $1 for it. It sold for $23.99 plus shipping. I paid $3.81 in fees, $2.15 in promoted listings general fees. I don't know whether it was on Google or on eBay because eBay does not give me that information, but nonetheless, I didn't go look. I guess I could go look and see if this was a Halo sale or not. Goodness. Again, my cost of goods sold was just $1. My net profit on this VHS video, $17.03. I've talked about railroad memorabilia in the past. I enjoy it. Number one, it's not always like super fast selling stuff, but it generally does pretty well, and you can a lot of times pick it up pretty cheap. Another textbook, Plate and Panel Structures of Isotropic, Composite, and Piezoelectric Materials. That is a mouthful. It wasn't even the whole title because it wouldn't fit in eBay's 80 characters. It also was including sandwich construction. So this was a massive, massive textbook from the kind of mid 2010s era. Part of a big lot of these that I picked up for $2 a piece at an estate sale probably a little over a year ago now. Had it listed and sold for $24.99 plus shipping. I paid $4.69 in fees, $2.23 in promoted listings fees, $2 cost of goods sold. My total cost $15.80. My net profit $16.07. An old mug that I picked up at a garage sale for $1 quite some time ago. This was part of a ad campaign that I'm running, a discount. I think it was 30% off. This was in a box. The box had a little bit of damage. The mug was in great shape. A Pokemon mug, 20-ounce Pokeball mug from Just Funky. It's a multi-ball design from 2016. Again, I picked it up at a garage sale for $1. I had it listed for something in the $30+ range. It was on sale. It sold for $25.99 plus shipping. The buyer paid $12.90 for priority mail shipping. Their total was $42.29. I paid $5.10 in selling fees, $2.96 in promoted listings fees. Cost me just $7.88 to ship with priority mail cubic through Pirate Ship. Again, my cost of goods sold was $1. So this item, which had a gross selling price of $25.99, actually netted me $21.95. I will take that all day long. The one sale I had on Mercari at the end of last week that missed being in the recap, so we're catching it this week. Little Pilgrim's Big Journey 2, John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress. This was a hardcover and a coloring book. new and sealed in kind of still in the cellophane wrap. I picked this up at an estate sale, gosh, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago for a couple of bucks. Sold on Mercari for $26 with free shipping. Of course, as is the case, at least for the moment, on Mercari, I didn't pay any fees. It did cost me $6.13 to ship. So I made $17.87 on this kind of retelling of John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress. I actually picked up two of these. Book one, which was the hardcover, and a coloring book also, but those were open. That I sold some time back, I think for about $18. This one was new and sealed and sold for $26. Oh, that's not right. Next up, over on eBay, Lucky Star by Tristram Tupper. This was a movie tone edition hardcover published by Grosset and Dunlap back in 1929. These movie tone editions, sometimes you'll see photoplay editions where there was a movie made in the 1920s or 30s based on the book, and a new edition of the book was published with pictures from the production of the movie. That's what this was. Published again in 1929. Had it listed and sold for $29.99 plus shipping. I paid $5.54 in fees, $2.68 in promoted listings fees. This was part of the big 15,000 book lot from a couple of years ago. So this thing cost me 4 whole cents. My net profit, $21.73. First sale over on Etsy, The Lays of Ancient Rome by Thomas Babington Macaulay. This was published by Dodge Publishing back in 1912. Illustrated book in kind of like a suede cover. The pages were well tanned, a lot of foxing. The biggest issue with this was that the suede was fading really badly and flaking off. Like if you just touched it, your hands were stained. It was essentially disintegrating. But it's still a highly unusual piece, difficult to find. This was also part of that 15,000 book lot. So I'm into this for 4 cents. I had it listed for $34.99. It sold at 10% off on Etsy for $31.49 plus shipping. I paid $5.53 $3.84 in regular fees. This sold off site for 15% fee, $5.53 in the offsite ad fee. My total cost $17.43. Net profit $22.08. Another one on Etsy. This is one I picked up at an estate sale in the spring. Dick Tracy and the Blackmailers by Chester Gould, a fast action story. This was a Dell paperback from 1939. It was in pretty good shape. I picked up a bunch of kind of vintage pocket comics at this sale for 50 cents a piece on the last day of a sale. I had essentially a whole box of these, and they've sold anywhere from $12 or $15 up to a high like this of about $34, $35. This sold actually overseas. This, I think, went to Sweden. $34.99 plus $18.45 for shipping. The sales tax in Sweden is stratospheric, $13.36. I assume that includes VAT and duties and whatever, but yikes, the order total on this $34 book was $66.80. I paid $5.72 in fees, no ad fees. Shipping cost was $18.45. Cost of goods sold, again, 50 cents. My net profit, $28.77. Back over to eBay, Built in the USA, 1932 to 1944, a book published by the Museum of Modern Art by Elizabeth Mock. Illustrated hardcover in its dust jacket. The dust jacket, to be fair, was fairly worn and had some staining on it. The book itself was in pretty good shape. Had it listed for $39.99, received an offer of $35, which I went ahead and accepted. The buyer paid a total of $43.96. $6.31 in fees, $3.08 again in promoted listings fees, 38 cents cost of goods sold. This was again from the big 650 book plus lot that I paid $2.50 for. Total cost $18.73, leading to a net profit of $25.23. Another one on eBay, another one from the 15,000 book lot, The Who, When, What book by Indianapolis Press from 1900. It's a hardcover of biographical sketches. I'm not sure if this book was supposed to have been accompanied by maybe some stickers or some plates, but it had basically paragraph-long bios of famous people from the late 1800s, but there were no photos. There were just places where you would obviously put paste some sort of photo, but none of that was included with this book. But this was a really unusual piece. I had it listed for, I think, $49.99. It was on sale. It got a watcher. I sent out an offer and ultimately sold it for $37.49 plus shipping. Again, $6.52 in fees, $3.18 for promoted listings fees, 4 cents cost of goods sold, net profit $27.75. This book the pages were fairly tanned. The cover was stained, slightly warped. It was in, at best, acceptable condition, but it still brought almost $38. This was kind of a local. I talk about these kind of local area cookbooks from time to time. They rarely bring this kind of money, but this was a particularly good one. This was The Taste of Middletown, Ohio, a bicentennial treasury of culinary excitement from 1991. I picked this up at an estate sale for a whole dollar back in the summer. Had it listed and sold for $39.99 plus shipping on eBay. $7 and a penny in fees. No promoted listing fee on this one. Again, my cost of goods sold was $1. Net profit $31.98. Again, these old like comb bound, plastic comb, spiral bound cookbooks a lot of times are $10, $12, $14. They can still be pretty good. Not always fast movers, but they can bring pretty decent money if you can get them, typically for 25 to 50 cents. This one I paid $1 for and sold for 40. Still over on eBay, an old textbook, Electroencephalography, easy for me to say, Basic Principles, Clinical Applications, and Related Fields. This was published, I think, in the 1990s. Had it listed and sold for $44.99. This was part of a big lot of textbooks that I picked up for $2 a piece. Buyer paid $7.63 in shipping. I paid $8.04 in fees and $3.97 in promoted listings fees, plus my $2 cost of goods sold. My total costs were $25.80 and my net profit was $30.98 for this old textbook on medical issues. Here was an interesting one. So I had somebody make a purchase of 3 years worth of an old magazine called Railfan and Railroad. Again, I just talked a little bit ago about these old railroad memorabilia and stuff. I've talked about model railroading magazines in the past and regular railroad magazines. These are fairly hard to find in complete years. This person bought complete years of volumes 13, 14, and 21, which included the years 1994, 95, and 2002. They paid $23.39 a piece for these. Or well, actually, I think I sent out an offer, so they got these a little bit less. The total ended up being $63.15 for these magazines. When all was said and done, shipping, this was one of those, they bought 3 separate items in 3 separate purchases. So I did refund some shipping. I ended up charging $11.11 in shipping. The order total ultimately for the customer after the adjustment was $81.37 for 3 years worth of railroading magazines. I paid $13.74 in fees, $6.51 in promoted listings fees. My actual cost to ship these was just $9.51. My cost of goods sold, $2.88. I will take that. So my total cost, $39.75, 3 years, 36 issues of a magazine shipped by USPS Ground Advantage went for a net profit of $41.62. Back over to Etsy. This was a pretty nice sale. These were, again, part of the big 600 plus book lot from a couple of months ago. Anna Karenina, volumes 1 and 2. Credited to Lyov and Tolstoy, better known as Leo Tolstoy. These were published by the Thomas Y. Crowell Company in 1899. 2-volume set. One of them, the cover had a pretty good stain on it. The other one was in actually pretty good condition. These were sold over on Etsy, listed for $79.99, purchased for 10% off at $71.99 plus shipping. Customer did not have to pay any sales tax. Interestingly, good for them. My fees, $5.03, and again, unfortunately, I paid that 15% offsite ad fee, $11.61. Shipping was $9.51 on these. I don't remember. I did put these in a box, so it did end up being a little bit heavier than I anticipated. My cost of goods sold, just 76 cents. My net profit, $50.46. Back over to eBay. I had a customer that reached out. I had sent out an offer. They had watched a whole bunch of yearbooks from Delta Junior High School, the Panther. This is a small junior high, kind of, I guess, in the Dayton area. I was at an estate sale, and there was essentially a box of these. I assumed that the person was a teacher or administrator at this school because they had probably 20 plus years worth of yearbooks from this school. And I was able to pick them all up for 50 cents a piece. And this person was watching 7 of them. I sent out an offer. Of course, it's difficult to do combined shipping on offers. The customer reached out to me and said, hey, what can we do on this? And I said, tell me which one specifically you want. I will create one brand new listing that has all of them included, and that way we can get the shipping correct. I had these all listed for $12.99 a piece. The offer I originally sent out was $11.04. When I created the new one, I just did $11 even on all of them. They bought 7 volumes of this for a grand total of $77 plus shipping. The combined shipping total was $838, and it cost $92 total. For the buyer, I paid $10.63 in fees. This was still, for some reason, I got charged a promoted listing fee on this, even though I created a brand new listing, which should not have been in the program. So I paid $6.44 in another promoted listings general fee. My actual shipping cost, because I don't pass the discount along and these went ground advantage, was $6.52. Again, 50 cents a piece. My total costs were just $3.50. Net profit on this sale, $58.29 for a bunch of old junior high school yearbooks. I've talked about this lot, I think even last week, the Black Revolution, an ebony special issue from 1970, a first edition hardcover with its dust jacket, published by Johnson Publishing. This was a collection of articles that appeared at various times in Ebony magazine through the 1960s into the early 1970s. Fairly hard to find hardcover. Again, was in that sale that I talked about last week where they were hidden behind a door, and I opened the door and voila, there were all these great books that I picked up for $1 a piece. I sold this for $99.99 plus shipping. Order total was $114.87. I paid $15.86 in fees, $6.18 to ship it, $1 cost of goods sold. My total cost $32.54. My net profit $82.33. That particular estate sale has been fantastic. And that, my friends, is the last. That's your flip of the week. That's the last thing I've got this week. So pretty good week. Like I said, not a ton of listings sold, but some really good value stuff throughout the week. That, my friends, is going to put a wrap on one of the longest episodes I've done in quite some time, but there was a lot of news that you probably need to know, things that you've probably seen and had questions about over on eBay. Obviously, the resignation of John Lagerling at Mercari is big news. Much of that story yet to be written over there. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on any or all of that. I always appreciate hearing from you. If you did get anything helpful, useful, or find anything interesting in this episode, please do me a favor if you're watching on YouTube and hit that thumbs up button. If you're not currently a follower of the podcast or a subscriber to the YouTube channel, please consider joining the Galaxian family. I would love to have you aboard. With that, it's time to sell. Thanks, guys. We'll see you Wednesday. You have been listening to the Galaxy CDs Rocks and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you again next time.